What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk to you about Lucid. Go over some of the data points, break it down on what's really influencing it, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So Lucid is getting hit quite hard, down 6.99%, 256 the low, 278 the high, and 42 million shares being traded within the first about hour and a half of the trading day. So a little bit low for volume today. No official news from Lucid. They did put out a definitive 14A, so ultimately outlining their upcoming shareholder meeting, which is slated for August the 18th. Only one proposed item, and that is the reverse stock split. So I'm not going to really dive deep into that all that much because I've kind of hit all the necessary points. One thing that is really affecting the broader market today, despite having somewhat okay jolt numbers, is a lot of companies really flopping on earnings, such as even UPS. So UPS really kind of pulling their full guidance due to macro uncertainty is a very big red flag. And the age-old thing about investing is typically UPS, FedEx, a lot of the transportation companies look at those earnings first for signs of broader market weakness. So the fact that this is happening to UPS is a massive red flag across the board. So that's something, again, I think the market's really focusing on. And it's not just UPS, there's a lot of other companies not necessarily doing the best today. But aside from that, there isn't really all that much associated to Lucid today. There was this interview that did come out associated to 𝗖𝗧𝗪𝗧. I was kind of going through it, listening to it, and honestly, in the past, I've really liked 𝗖𝗧𝗪𝗧's kind of wording, but even just generally, I kind of paused it at this one section when he kind of talks about demand. So whoever's interviewing him asks like, hey, so who is your target audience? And that's something I've brought up that Lucid they don't really know. They flip-flopped quite a lot. And his answer, in my opinion, is horrible because he said successful tech individuals. Even when he mentioned for the Gravity, because of it being a 7-seater, it appeals to a little bit more of a broader audience, but still tech-minded individuals. So I feel like just Lucid, their branding for that is very wrong. And potentially once they launch the midsize, if they still stick to that like tech type of individual only, they're going to miss out on so many sales. So I think Lucid really does need to fix that. But aside from this one interview, which in my opinion, it's not really a reason to sell, nor is it a reason to buy. It's just a good FYI. But aside from this, there's not really much moving Lucid aside from its technicals. One thing I do want to bring up is I did have incorrect information. So yesterday I did mention that they did get knocked off of the Russell 1000. Turns out that did occur in 2023. And this right here, it just shows notable exclusions, so it was overlooked. So I want to apologize, my fault on this, because I kind of read this, saw that essentially it made sense based on just the level of suppression that did occur with Lucid, but nonetheless it does look like they're already off the 1000, which is again rather unfortunate. At the time of doing this video, looking at shorts though, shorts are increasing 4.71 million shares, so shorts are really hell-bent on kind of hitting Lucid hard, and they are breaking their trend. So like I mentioned, their kind of peak was at like 34%. They returned to about 30%, and now they are starting to double down the last 2 trading days. So currently increasing 4.71 million shares. 30.7% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 378.6 million shares overall are being shorted. But aside from that though, moving over to the options, you're seeing somewhat low volume, similar to the common stock, 841,000 in calls, 690,000 in puts, 50% of all the options being done are bearish in nature. And as you can kind of see right here, even 225 just between 935 and 940, when Lucid was essentially at the bottom, you are still seeing intraday bottom, I should clarify, but technically you're still seeing a certain level of bearishness. So big money is anticipating for Lucid to continue to pull down. From the bulls standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be kind of between that 250 and 3 by the end of this Friday. So optimism has somewhat died for that. Even encumbering their earnings. So going into next week, you see even the most optimistic for it to be roughly around that $4 range. So things have really got hit quite hard. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub 250 for this week, and it looks like between 2 and 250 for next week. So we'll have to wait and see how that all does play out. But aside from that, these are all the transactions occurring on the dark pool. So rather quiet, and I'm sure a lot of this is linked to shorts, especially based on what they're doing today. So it goes to show that big money is not really looking at Lucid as much as a lot of people, including myself, would like to see. Aside from that though, with it at 259, it is trading currently between this S2 and this S3. So in comparison to a lot of other growth stocks, it is getting absolutely hit. Even just generally looking at my watch list, a lot of stocks are very, very red today. So 265 is going to be that key point, ideally, best case scenario, that it closes above today, so it recovers and all the fun jazz. But that's going to be the next strong target / resistance, and then 243 is going to be the next strong support. There hasn't been any new analyst ratings, no articles really talking about Lucid on the actual chart itself, so it is well below the ALMA, and so shows that it wants to consolidate a little bit further. Because of all the consolidation though, you do see stochastic RSI rather oversold, so that could really stand to benefit if there is some positive data that does come out. But I think in general, there's going to be a lot more volatility in the foreseeable future, because even today, on the companies unveiling the earnings, they weren't really the heavy hitters. In the next couple of trading days, especially at the end of this week, that is where you have a lot of the big tech names. And if they are failing to give good future guidance, this is where you could see the market start to really freak out. Aside from that though, 253, that's going to be that 200-day moving average. That's going to be pretty much the line in the sand that you want to watch for Lucid to hold. If not, then you are going to most likely see it get hit even further lower. And I think in general, that's shorts' plan. Every single time Lucid does really break out, you have shorts hitting it at strategic points just to kill the momentum. So again, I think their target is going to be that 200-day moving average. And then aside from that, and then that 50-day. 50 days is a massive deal for Lucid, usually results in like a 30% swing in either direction, as what kind of did happen back in kind of second week of July. So let me know your thoughts on Lucid. Are you buying? Are you selling? What's your kind of general thoughts? And do you think that, for instance, all these companies really flopping on their earnings and not really giving good guidance, or kind of no guidance whatsoever, do you think that is a cause for concern? So let me know your general thoughts. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And for those of you on a side note that did listen to this interview, what stood out to you? What positives? Was there any substantial brand new positives that you learned something from? Or is it just the same old, same old? So let me know your thoughts. One final thing, pop over to my Discord. It is completely free. A lot of good people talking about stocks, options, crypto, everything that you ever need in life. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.